Imagine your last processed meal. The packaging crumples, the container empties, and something profound is about to begin. Within hours, deep inside your body, beneath your chest, where arteries branch like rivers, a transformation starts that most people never witness. Your blood vessels, which have been working in silence, managing assault after assault, finally receive the signal they've been waiting for. The damage has stopped coming, and now the real work begins. For years, we've been told that arterial damage accumulates inevitably, that once you've hurt your cardiovascular system, the consequences are permanent. But what if that belief misses something crucial? What if your arteries possess a power that modern medicine is only beginning to fully understand? The human cardiovascular system was designed not for constant inflammatory attack, but for cycles of challenge and recovery. What if, hidden within your vascular biology, lies an ancient mechanism for renewal, waiting to be activated? When you stop eating processed foods, you're not just changing a diet. You're initiating a biological cascade that reaches into every vessel, every cell lining, every heartbeat. So, what actually happens when your arteries realize the inflammatory assault has stopped? What hidden processes begin in those first crucial hours? The answers are both remarkable and humbling, and they start almost immediately. The first 12 hours feel unremarkable. Your last meal digests, your blood sugar normalizes, and your body begins to register the change. You might feel nothing at all, or perhaps cravings whisper their first demands. Restlessness moves through your system. Your brain has adapted to the dopamine surges from hyperpalatable foods, and now it must recalibrate to their absence. But beneath this surface normalcy, something extraordinary is occurring. Your endothelial cells, the single-cell thick lining of every artery in your body, are no longer being flooded with inflammatory compounds. Oxidized seed oils, which damage cellular membranes, refined sugars, which spike insulin and trigger inflammatory cascades, chemical additives, which your immune system recognizes as foreign invaders. For however long you've been eating processed foods, your vascular system has been managing this chemical assault without pause. The inflammation that has been quietly burning inside your arterial walls begins to ease. It's subtle at first, imperceptible, but real. Every hour without processed foods is an hour your endothelial cells can redirect energy from damage control to actual maintenance. The change isn't dramatic, but it's profound. Your cardiovascular system has been in survival mode. Now, for the first time, it can consider something more. This absence of drama isn't emptiness. It's transformation in its earliest, quietest form. Your arteries are remembering what baseline feels like, and while your conscious mind searches for change, the healing operates in silence, patient and persistent. Days 2 through 5 bring what researchers call the inflammatory reset, though it feels more like withdrawal. Cravings intensify, sometimes overwhelming. Your mood shifts unpredictably. The body seems to be protesting the very choice you've made. Your brain's reward circuits, which have been hijacked by engineered combinations of salt, sugar, and fat, are firing distress signals. Yet, this turbulence has purpose. Beneath the surface, your immune system is standing down from high alert. C-reactive protein, a key inflammatory marker that floods your bloodstream during chronic inflammation, begins to drop. For months, or perhaps years, your arterial walls have been under siege. White blood cells have been adhering to vessel linings, crawling between endothelial cells, releasing inflammatory proteins. Immune cells have been treating your own arteries as battlegrounds. But now, with processed foods absent, your body assesses the landscape and recognizes the assault has ended. The inflammatory cascade that perpetuates itself begins to break. Fewer immune cells arrive. Fewer inflammatory signals get sent. The constant state of emergency that has defined your vascular system begins to ease. You might feel worse before you feel better, and there's wisdom in understanding why. This isn't your body failing. This is what vascular house cleaning looks like when it's finally allowed to happen. The irritability is real. The cravings are real. But underneath these symptoms, de-escalation has begun. Within 7 days, something astonishing becomes measurable. Your blood, which carries the evidence of everything you've consumed, begins to tell a different story. Triglycerides, those fat molecules that circulate after meals, can drop by 20 to 30% within a single week. This isn't theoretical projection. This is documented change happening in your bloodstream right now. Understanding why requires understanding what processed foods actually do. Trans fats and oxidized seed oils cause your LDL cholesterol particles to oxidize. Oxidized LDL is dangerous because it burrows into arterial walls, where immune cells consume it and become foam cells, the building blocks of plaque. Refined carbohydrates spike your blood sugar, which damages proteins in your blood through a process called glycation. These damaged proteins trigger inflammation. For however long you've been eating processed foods, your arteries have been accumulating these microscopic injuries. New plaque material has been deposited constantly. But 1 week without the incoming damage, and the assembly line shuts down. Your liver, which produces triglycerides from excess sugar and damaged fats, redirects its resources. Your arteries stop receiving new inflammatory cargo. The effects manifest in unexpected ways. Energy returns in the mornings. Mental fog lifts because blood flow to your brain improves. The inflammation that constricted small vessels begins to ease. Oxygen delivery increases. Your cardiovascular system, freed from constant toxic processing, begins to remember its natural rhythm. By the second week, if you measured your blood pressure, you would witness something remarkable. Readings can drop 5 to 10 points systolic within 14 days. This change isn't minor. For every 2-point reduction in systolic pressure, stroke risk decreases roughly 10%. Heart attack risk falls proportionally. You're not just seeing numbers shift. You're watching risk recalculate in real time. The mechanism is elegant. Processed foods contain massive amounts of sodium, far beyond what whole foods provide. This sodium causes your body to retain water, increasing blood volume, and therefore pressure against arterial walls. Your kidneys, which regulate fluid balance, have been overwhelmed by constant sodium excess. 2 weeks without processed foods, and they finally excrete the surplus. Blood volume decreases, pressure drops, but something deeper is happening simultaneously. Your endothelial cells produce a molecule called nitric oxide, which signals arterial smooth muscle to relax and vessels to dilate. Chronic inflammation impairs nitric oxide production. With inflammation subsiding, production increases. Your arteries, which have been constricted and rigid, begin to relax. The cellular machinery that was malfunctioning begins to work properly again. Blood flows more freely. Your heart doesn't work as hard with each contraction. The constant strain that has defined your cardiovascular system for months or years begins to ease. This isn't theoretical. This is measurable change. Your vessels are no longer fighting against constant pressure. Perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of vascular biology reveals itself around week 3. Your endothelium, that single-cell thick lining of every blood vessel in your body, possesses a regenerative capacity that rivals any tissue. This layer, impossibly thin yet absolutely crucial, controls everything, whether blood clots or flows freely, whether vessels constrict or dilate, whether inflammation escalates or resolves. Damaged endothelial cells, which have been dying faster than they were replaced, now begin to heal. New cells form where old ones perished. Existing cells repair their mitochondria, those cellular power plants that generate energy. The endothelium operates as your cardiovascular command center, receiving signals and responding moment to moment. For however long you've been eating processed foods, this command center has been compromised. Signals get crossed, responses malfunction. 3 weeks, and the system begins to remember its original programming. Studies measuring flow-mediated dilation, the endothelium's ability to relax vessels in response to increased blood flow, show 20 to 40% improvement in this time frame. Your arteries' responsiveness is returning. The sophisticated machinery that regulates pressure, prevents clots, and manages inflammation is coming back online. Your cardiovascular system cannot regenerate like your liver can, but it possesses something equally profound: the ability to restore function, to remember how healthy vessels behave. This ancient capability, encoded in your DNA millions of years ago, activates not because you've earned it, but because your biology is designed to forgive. Between weeks 4 and 6, your blood tells a transformed story. HDL cholesterol, the protective kind that carries excess cholesterol away from arteries, begins to rise. LDL particles, which have been small and dense and dangerous, become larger and less likely to burrow into vessel walls. Triglycerides continue their descent, dropping 40 to 50% from baseline in some individuals. But the ratio matters more than individual numbers. The relationship between these markers determines cardiovascular risk more accurately than any single value. 6 weeks without processed foods, and this ratio shifts dramatically. Your lipid profile, which may have been screaming danger, begins to whisper something different. Your liver orchestrates this change. Freed from processing inflammatory oils and excess sugars, it produces better quality lipoproteins. The particles that circulate through your bloodstream become less inflammatory, less sticky, less prone to causing damage. Your blood has been carrying dangerous cargo through 60,000 miles of vessels. 6 weeks, and the composition of what flows through your arteries has fundamentally changed. The effects compound. Platelets, the cell fragments responsible for clotting, become less sticky and less likely to clump. Blood viscosity decreases, making circulation easier. Every change reinforces others, creating a cascade of improvement that reaches every capillary, every organ, every tissue dependent on blood flow, which is to say, everything. Around day 50, you might notice that exercise feels different. Your heart rate recovers faster after exertion. Your endurance improves. Breathlessness that used to arrive quickly now holds off longer. This isn't conditioning alone, though that helps. This is your arterial walls remembering their original design. Arterial stiffness, measured by pulse wave velocity, can improve 10 to 15% by week 8. Your vessels, which have been rigid and calcified, are becoming elastic again. This flexibility matters more than almost any other cardiovascular metric. Stiff arteries cannot absorb the pressure wave from each heartbeat. That force, instead of dissipating into vessel walls, travels unimpeded to organs. Your brain, your kidneys, your eyes. Every high-pressure wave causes microscopic damage. The mechanism involves advanced glycation end products, molecules formed when sugars bond permanently to proteins. These agents cross-link collagen fibers in arterial walls, making them stiff and brittle. Processed foods, loaded with refined carbohydrates, create glucose spikes that accelerate age formation. 8 weeks without these spikes, and new age production essentially stops. Existing damage repairs slowly as your body breaks down the cross-linked proteins. Your arteries, remember, they're supposed to flex with each heartbeat, absorbing pressure and protecting downstream organs. This flexibility, lost gradually over years, begins returning in weeks. The transformation isn't complete, but the trajectory has reversed. And trajectory determines destination. 60 days. If you could see inside your arteries with advanced imaging, the change would be visible. Existing plaques haven't disappeared. Regression takes months to years, sometimes longer. Plaque that took decades to form doesn't vanish in 2 months. But something crucial has happened that matters more than size. Unstable plaques have stabilized. Plaque stability determines whether you have a heart attack or don't. Unstable plaques have thin fibrous caps covering a lipid-rich core. These caps can rupture, spilling contents into the bloodstream, triggering massive clots. Stable plaques have thick fibrous caps and less inflammation within. 60 days without processed foods, and the inflammatory cells within existing plaques begin to leave. The fibrous cap thickens, the plaque solidifies. You haven't erased the past. Arterial damage accumulates over decades, and 2 months cannot undo all of it. But you've changed what the future holds. Your vascular system, which was on a trajectory toward rupture and crisis, has found a different path. New plaque formation has essentially halted. Existing plaques have become less dangerous. Research using intravascular ultrasound shows that intensive dietary intervention can slow plaque progression within weeks and begin regression within months. You're at the beginning of that timeline. The foundation has been laid. Healing has begun. And if you continue, the changes will compound. 60 days and your cardiovascular system operates from a different baseline. Blood sugar stability has returned. Without constant glucose spikes, your pancreas isn't overproducing insulin. Your cells respond to insulin appropriately again, taking up glucose efficiently. This metabolic harmony matters because insulin resistance drives inflammation, and inflammation drives arterial disease. The cycle that was perpetuating damage has been interrupted. Inflammation markers tell the story quantitatively. High sensitivity C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha. These proteins, which flood your bloodstream during chronic inflammation, have measurably declined. Your immune system, recognizing that the threat has passed, has begun standing down completely. The constant state of emergency has ended. Your heart doesn't work as hard. Reduced blood pressure means reduced resistance with every contraction. Lower blood viscosity means easier circulation. Improved endothelial function means better vessel dilation. These changes compound, and the sum is a cardiovascular system under far less strain. The organ that will beat 3 billion times in your lifetime has been given relief. The arteries that carry life to every cell in your body have been given something they desperately needed, a chance to heal. Not perfection, not complete reversal of decades of damage, but transformation that is measurable, real, and profound. Your biology is designed to forgive. It only needs the opportunity.